in that building are such that they are dialogical, that they are participative, that there is no racism, that there is no poverty. I could mention all kinds of values related to disarmament, development, and human rights. They don't kill each other when they are disagreeing, but they sit down and talk and change and get to a compromise or find a new solution to the conflict. So you see, interactions really helps the structure to go on. But if you change the interactions, the structure might also change. This is kind of interesting idea because we are all interacting all the time, right? Some of our interactions are problematic. We are no saints. Or are there any saints in the group? Can I see? No. One? So interactions, some might become a saint later on, depending upon the interactions. So we'll see what happens. Now, the human being, me, is located in all places in the structure. Located in a home, and in school, and in prison, and in the government. There are always human beings present where the structure is working. Interactions with others can be violent and peaceful. Well, we can discuss how that shows up in different ways. Looking at somebody in a bad way is not the peaceful. Saying a bad word is not the peaceful. Using the fist and hit somebody is also not so peaceful. And of course, dropping the bomb is not necessarily peaceful. It is violent. So the question is, these interactions, how do we make them less violent and more peaceful? At all levels, that is, not only at the personal level, but also between husband and wife. And you know that this has been an experience in my country over the last 30 years, which I have lived myself, and I can tell you a lot about that all the time. Okay? Interactions can be changed. If interactions change, the structure can change as a result, and vice versa. Now, I don't know how many of you are students of the human being, but when we talk about this, really it becomes a question: who is a human being? What kind of qualities are in the human being? And I've written some names here. Emile Durkheim from France, George Herbert Mead from the United States, Yoshiko Nomura from Japan, Paulo Freire from Brazil, and Gary Becker from the United States. These people, they are at the forefront of research. Durkheim, sociologist, same with Mead, social psychologist as well. Yoshiko Nomura, a Buddhist philosopher. Paulo Freire, philosopher from this country, educator. And Gary Becker, professor of economics, University of Chicago. They have produced different theories about how they think the human being is. No, we cannot go into all of this. This is only 5 examples of people who have expressed opinions about the basic qualities of human beings. And I'm sure you know many other people who have expressed opinions about what they think is the basic quality of a human being. And in order to educate for the culture of peace, this question is important. I don't have an answer, but I can think we can learn something from all of them. And of course, I tend to agree more with some of them than with others. But the teacher who is going to help educate for a culture of peace really needs to know or make assumptions about the basic quality of the human being. Durkheim, let me say a little bit about how I see that he looks upon the human being. He sees the human being as limitless and greedy. The human being needs to learn self-constraint in order to fit into the common good and the community. The concept of organic solidarity contains the moral norms of modern society. The moral principles involved in organic solidarity are based in social norms that give all human beings responsibilities. The norms are social facts, not only abstractions. The norms function to regulate the actions of the citizens. Moral behaviors are collective habits. These habits must be learned through regularity and authority that together constitute discipline. Discipline will function to limit the limitless human being. In this way, discipline is seen as a condition for happiness and moral health. Discipline must be learned in school, and in this way, Durkheim is an authoritarian educator. Do you think all the other people will agree with this? I don't think so. Is the translation working? I'm not going too fast? Yes? Okay. We could say much more about the account. Let's go to Mead, because of the time. George Herbert Mead, well, let me just say that Durkheim, he lived at a time when France had decided to introduce a confession-free school. And he found himself in a context in need of norms to replace the norms previously derived from religion. This was his attempt to develop this sociology and this understanding of the organic solidarity in the nation, and that all children should learn this in the school. Mead, he worked in Chicago. He thinks that the idea of the human being as a creator of the future, as well as a creator of himself or herself. Mead, one of the challenges in Mead's context was a Chicago that had doubled its population from 500,000 to 1 million in 10 years. This was in 1880 to 1890. Immigrants from a large number of cultures met each other in the big slaughterhouses and in the city prepared to realize the American dream. They spoke different languages, they had different habits and lifestyles. So here, Mead developed an understanding based on these contextual conditions that we relate to differences in this way, that we create a common future with them. He talks about taking the perspective of the other. The human being considers the other before acting. Mead says that the human being is social and begins developing this aspect as a small baby, making gestures and sounds to others, especially to the parents. Through interpreting the other, the person constitutes his or her own identity. The self. In the end, the human being will understand and act according to how he or she has developed an understanding of the other, and how he or she has acquired the attitude of that community. Needs human being is much more a subject in the interactive process than Durkheim's human being, who becomes an object of external norms. Well, let me go and say a little bit about Yoshiko Nomura. She is from Japan, and her Oriental philosophy, I'll quote: "While we may perceive our mind, body, and environment to have separate existences, the view of nature that we have adopted holds that the human being does not exist apart and aloof from the natural world, but is part of it. From this, it follows that our mind and body, together with the surrounding environment, are integral to each other and identified as one." Very different response to the quality of the human being. Her concept of environment is partitioned in the human environment, the material environment, and the natural environment. The integration of the inner world of the individual and the outer world of the environment corresponds to the integration of subjectivity and objectivity. Now we are closing up to the next one on the list, Paulo Freire. He talks very much about subjectivity and objectivity and the integration of them. Nomura, neither Durkheim nor Need view socialization explicitly in relation to the question of peace and violence. Nomura, however, makes an explicit connection between socialization and the question of peace and violence. She defines peace as a balanced state between mind, body, and environment. This definition suggests that there is a principle of coexistence underlying peace. Violence against one part would be violence against the whole, including the self. So if we are violent to nature, we are violent to ourselves. Our ignorant and reckless exploitation, she says, are destroying the environment on which we depend, threatening our own survival as well as that of all living things. So this principle of coexistence between the mind, body, and the environment really is an interesting way to go when we think about the qualities of the human being in a different way. Paulo Freire, you know, right? How many knows Paulo Freire? Can I see? So those of you who do not know him, and you are Brazilian, you have to get to know him. Buy one of his first books, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and read it, and you will find that he talks about how we can have a dialogue together in order not only to think better, but to feel better. His word conscientization is an English word that has been translated from Portuguese, conscientização, correct? And this word did not exist in English before it was translated. I think it was in the Pedagogy of the Oppressed at the beginning of the 1970s. In Norwegian, which is my language, we still do not have a word for conscientização, so we call it consciousness raising, which is more about this part of the body life, not so much about this part. Is it correct? So an integration. Yes. Is it correct? Yeah. Well, time is passing, and the reason why I reflected on this topic, Becker, you know, he is, I think, in harmony with neoliberalist globalization. He talks about the human being as an economic, profit-seeking strategic actors. Now, all of these contributions may be correct in one way or another, because we are in many close realities, right? And we can display different attitudes depending upon the here and now moment that we are in, and also over the phases of the life from the beginning to the end, we might change as well. So maybe they all have something to teach us. At least that's what I tell my students, that I don't know really the answer to this, but let's talk about it. And when you are going to teach, I think you really have to make some kind of assumptions about it in order to be, in order to know in which direction to go, what to support in the human being, what kind of qualities needs support in order for a cultural peace to be established. Well, thank you.
Agradecemos ao professor Havelsbrug, da Noruega. Informamos que o Congresso Mundial da Paz das Américas está sendo transmitido diretamente pela internet, através do projeto Vivo Educa, e com o endereço eletrônico qik.com/vivoeduca. Repetindo, qik.com/vivoeduca. Dando sequência às palestras da noite, vamos escutar o professor Jorge Duarte, do SENAC São Paulo, que nos falará sobre paz e desenvolvimento local. O psicólogo uruguaio Jorge Carlos Silveira Duarte trabalha desde 97 com o desenvolvimento de comunidades e formação de redes sociais. Com especialização em recursos humanos e desenvolvimento local pela Organização Internacional do Trabalho, a OIT, e MBA em Gestão de Empreendedorismo Social, atualmente é gestor da área de Desenvolvimento Social do SENAC São Paulo. Vamos receber com aplausos o professor Jorge Carlos Silveira Duarte.
Alô? Bom, boa noite a todos e a todas. Obrigado pelo professor. Todos somos educadores de alguma forma, né? Mas eu não tenho essa prática de ser professor, não. Bom, primeiro, muito obrigado pelo convite, né? Obrigado pela oportunidade de poder estar compartilhando uma prática, mais uma prática que nós trabalhamos no SENAC na área de desenvolvimento social e que acreditamos também contribui com uma cultura de paz. Fazer um pequeno contexto do SENAC, principalmente para as pessoas que são de outros países entenderem. O SENAC é uma instituição educacional que trabalha fundamentalmente com educação profissional, embora nos últimos 10 anos também estejamos trabalhando com cursos de graduação, ou seja, com a universidade. Nós temos cursos livres, cursos técnicos, cursos universitários, e para entender um pouco a dimensão, atendemos um público de 300 mil pessoas por ano, okay? Em 57 unidades diferentes distribuídas no estado de São Paulo. Embora é uma organização nacional, por sermos uma federação, existe uma administração regional, ou seja, um departamento regional no estado de São Paulo. Os estrangeiros sempre gostam de saber de onde vem o recurso. Temos duas fontes de recurso: a própria prestação de serviço ou a venda dos cursos, e um recurso também de um imposto que é recolhido dos empresários do setor de comércio e serviços. Okay? São essas duas formas. Nesse sentido, inclusive, embora eu tenha pesquisado em outros países, não encontro uma organização privada sem fim de lucros que receba um recurso público como recebemos aqui, né? É uma situação bastante diferente. Eu trabalho dentro do SENAC, que tem um conjunto de áreas: hotelaria, turismo, idiomas, tecnologia, enfim, tem área de saúde, de educação, tecnologia, já falei, moda, enfim, temos várias áreas do Congresso de Serviço. Eu coordeno a área de desenvolvimento social no Estado e vou falar um pouco dessa prática. Aliás, a prática, 12 anos atrás, quando eu iniciei esse trabalho, era de levar a educação profissional a comunidades economicamente desfavorecidas. Mas o que a gente percebia é que duas coisas. Primeiro, que a nossa atividade para essa população não tinha uma efetividade. Ou seja, a gente constatava de que os nossos cursos não necessariamente incluíam para o mundo do trabalho, né? Então nós temos uma primeira reflexão, 10 anos atrás, nos perguntamos o que nós estamos fazendo com os cursos, principalmente para essas populações. E percebemos, uma das questões que percebemos, que essas pessoas precisavam ser incluídas para a vida, né, para a vida em comunidade, enfim, começamos a pensar em trabalhar um conjunto de competências para o trabalho e não habilidades específicas. Como relacionar-se, como trabalhar em equipe, como buscar o autoconhecimento, enfim, como trabalhar a autonomia, etc. E uma outra coisa que aconteceu em 98, pelo menos quando eu iniciei este trabalho em comunidades, é que havia